welcome back to my channel, Beagles Games Guitars. In today's video, I'm going to be playing a solo round of Uwe Rosenberg's Fields of Arle. This is one of my favorite games that he has made. There is a lot going on in this game, so please forgive me if I don't include everything by the end of this video, because I'm not going to be able to tell everyone exactly how to do every little rule. It's quite a heavy game for Uwe Rosenberg, even though it's only a 1 to 3 player game. It might be why it's so heavy, because there's less people playing it. So, over the course of 9 rounds, I'm going to be sending my 4 and only 4 workers to each season, depending on which season we're in, and taking those actions. With the Tea and Trade expansion, there are 34 possible actions that you could take. You cannot take all of them on one round, because the restriction of this game is if you're in June, you can only be on the left side of the board. If you're in December, you can only be on the right side of the board. The one special thing is, though, you can send one of your workers to do a particular action out of season. These actions mainly consist of gathering resources, improving your tools, and using those particular tools to do specific actions such as improving your dikes, building buildings, flipping your peat bogs, cutting the peat off of your bogs, and then as well as gathering animals and building the stalls for those animals, and plowing your fields. Like I said, there's a lot going on. In addition to a player board, you also have I guess they call it a warehouse, a storehouse, and in the Tea and Trade expansion, you have a harbor. So over here, you're going to be storing vehicles, peat boats, and carts, and then on your harbor, you're going to be storing trade ships and fish cutters. So the expansion adds the fish aspect to it, as well as the tea. So in the Tea and Trade expansion, you start with tea. Tea is very special because it allows you to improve a particular action that you are taking. So, like a lot of Uwe Rosenberg games, you do tile flips. So, the flipping this to the other side will give you East Frisian tea. I guess these people in East Frisia really like tea. So, depending on where your tool is, you spin tea, and it makes it a little bit more powerful depending on that action. So, a basic round will go like this. You'll place all 4 of your workers. Then after that, you'll do a November inventorying, which consists of getting food from your sheep and cattle, getting grain, flax, and wood from your fields and your forests, and then you spin that food into peat to fuel your house. Then you go over to December. You'll take 4 actions in December, and then you'll come back and do a May inventorying, which then your animals will breed if they're in a stall or sheep in ditches. And then you'll get wool depending on how many sheep you have, and then you'll also pay 3 food. Vehicles are important in this game because you'll be using them to go to specific destinations. Each destination has different requirements, so whenever you visit that, you will place it, for instance, on top of this. You'll place this here, and you'll have to get rid of one of those costs immediately gaining the food below. So pretty much every reward in this is food. And then once you travel there, when you do an inventorying, you will unload your cart, and you'll place it over here. And this is kind of like a travel track that'll show you how far you've traveled and how many destinations you've gone to. So let me try and narrow it down as best as I can to just the home board here. So on the right side, you'll see these different colored spheres or circles. These represent certain items. So the blue ones are food. This one is grain. The brown one is hide or squirrels. And then we have the green one for flax. And then we have the white one for wool from the sheep. So on the action board, you're going to be gathering these resources. You'll also be earning these resources depending on how many fields and forests you have. And you can also spend these to do certain buildings. So these goods are very important. You'll definitely need a lot of food. Food is pretty easy to get. This isn't as harsh as Agricola. So you'll definitely be getting food. You'll definitely be spending food. So each square is 1 space, and that space can hold a multitude of things. It can hold grain fields, flax fields, as well as forests. And anything that it flips over to, such as a single stall there. There are stables that you can buy, which will house 6 of the same animal. You flip it over and you get a double stall, which holds 3 animals as long as the animals are different kinds, so 3 and 3. These can also hold particular buildings. Buildings are mainly one-time use buildings. There'll be a certain icon in them that tells you anytime, and that icon is right there in the top right, just below the 1-point star marker. That's an anytime action. So here, I could convert 1 wood and 1 grain into 4 food at any time. On your home board, there are these dikes. These dikes, depending on where they are, is how much land you have available to build, breed, and work with. So there's a certain action called the dike builder that lets you push these dikes. So when you take the first action, depending on how many shovel pairs you have, you can move that many dikes. So you have to move the dikes. You have to completely clear a bottom row before you can work on the next row. So the order of operations would be something along the lines of this. And if you don't complete your dike, you'll actually lose -3 points. So there's starting indicators that tell you where these dikes go. So this game, half of your land is submerged. So that's what these are. I think they're called peat bogs. I'm not 100% sure. So right now they're -4 points. So on the bottom of my board, I have -12 points against me already. So you're starting pretty negative. So there is an action up here called the colonist that lets you flip these. So a lot of tiles in this game have a little flip icon. That means you get the flip. So whenever you flip this, now there's these indicated squares where you're going to be putting peat from the resource tray on here. And to get that peat off of the bogs, you have to peat cut. So there's a peat cutter that lets you cut however many peat per however many spades you have. So there's a lot going on that you have to keep track of. So I've pointed at the middle of this board a couple of times. So where my little blue markers are my tools. There's one way down here for spades, and we'll go over those in a second. This is expansion right there. So in the middle is tools. You can improve these tools by going to the master workbench. Everything on the left is how much they cost to improve them. So the more you improve them, the more points you're going to get, and the more powerful that action becomes. So the shovel pairs, right now I can only do 1 dike, but then you can move it up and do 2, and eventually you can get up to moving 3 dikes, so that can be very handy. Same thing with wood cutting. Right now I can only get 3 wood if I take this action, but if I improve it, I can do 4 wood, 5, and so forth. So improving your weapons right here is very useful. There is one particular rule. If you do improve the workbench to a 3, even though you only had 2 actions to begin with, you've improved it to where now you have 3. So you spent the 1 of the 3, so you still get 2 more actions. That is very explicitly in the rule book, and I wanted to make that very aware because I will probably be doing that at some point. Focusing attention over here onto, I call it like the stable, I guess. So there's a multitude of areas where you can place these carts. So peat boats and carts. Peat boats are not vehicles, but basically you'll pay the indicated costs, and they are on all of the items. And like I said, a lot of tiles have the little flip icon, so you can flip these or pay for the opposite side's costs. You don't have to pay them and then flip. If that makes sense. I'm trying my best to make sense of this game. So these carts, you will load these up. And for instance, if I have this bolt of cloth right here, this bolt of cloth has an opposite side, which is clothing. I guess that's what you would call that. So you would load this onto a cart like this. This is a very special case because this has a double seat and a single seat. You cannot cover up a single and a double with a tile like this. You have to either choose one or the other. So this. So when you load these up, they stay there until you decide to unload your vehicles during the November inventory. And when you do that, it'll flip to its opposite side, and then it comes to your resource pool, and that becomes an item that you can spend for later. So just because you put it in the cart and it flips doesn't mean you get to spend it. You have to wait until it comes back. So when you visit areas, they aren't concerned about this. So I can't fit this 3-spaced hide into this cart because there's a double and a single. It would have to be one long triple. And then something like the cart cannot visit. If I remember right, a cart, I think it can visit a single space area. It just goes sideways. It just can't improve upon something like this because it's not the same shape. You have to match shapes. Uwe Rosenberg likes his shapes. So I'm trying my best to reset the board here. The ships, down here, we can build a trading ship, which the trading ship is the bigger ship, and it'll flip and have its counterpart on the other side. Same thing with the fishing cutter. It'll have a single spot, and you flip it, and it has its bigger ship here. They'll go up in your harbor. These can convert goods into their opposite side. So opposite sides, there's also clay, which will turn into brick. And then you have wood, which will turn into timber. And you have tea, that'll turn into East Frisian tea. And then all the other various goods that you can create. If you send them on a ship, it'll flip. The good thing is, if this ship was empty and you're unloading your vehicles, you'll actually gain food for every empty space. So there's a potential to get at least 2 food on the ships on the other side. These ships cannot visit travel destinations. They can still convert goods. So I can't convert this level 3 item until I have a ship that has 3 spaces for it. Unlike the fishing cutter, the trading ships don't give you food. So the bonus or benefit of having a trading ship is if I decide to pay 3 food before I unload my vehicles, I could pay 3 food to fill the entire boat full of tea. Or I could spend tea to fill the entire boat full of, it looks like, I don't know, I'm just going to go blank on that one. And then I could spend 3 grain or 3 flax to fill my boat of wood, spend a coat, fine, a coat. I can fill the coat to fill my entire ship full of timber. The good thing about timber is that you can spend timber as if it were wood, and you can also spend bricks as if it were clay. Another new thing that the Tea and Trade expansion adds are ditches. So, whenever you take the ditcher action, your first ditch has to go to your dike line. So right now, my dike line is right here. It's unbroken. If it were right here, then this would be my dike line. But if I were to take this action right now, my first ditch has to touch the dike line. And I can dig up the 3 ditches right now. So if I took that action, I could do something like this. They always have to connect, and only one ditch can connect to the dike line. So now this is a dehydrated space. If a single space is bordered by at least 2 ditches, you can now house up to 3 sheep in that single space. So that kind of rolls into animals. So, depending on where your dike line is, you can put 2 animals into each empty field. They will not breed. They have to be in a stall or a stable to breed, but you can still put them there. Only in empty fields. If you run out of fields, they can, he's dead, hang out on top of the dike line as well, but only 1 animal per dike line, particular dike. So, they have to be the same animal, typical Uwe Rosenberg rule. The good thing about sheep, just as I said, if you had a dehydrated space like this square, and we actually had a breeding phase in the May inventory, it would actually breed. Sheep are the one animal in this game that will breed in a dehydrated space. In addition to having ditches, whenever you take the farmer action, your single plow can plow 2 dehydrated fields. So if this space were gone, I would actually have 2 dehydrated spaces. And then I get to do 2, either 2 flax, 2 grain, or 1 of each, compared to the normal 1 per plow. So if I had 2 plows, I could plow 1 random field and the other plow could plow 2 fields with the dehydrated one. So ditches are beneficial for that reason. And the third reason is if one of these peat bogs or moors is bordered by 2 ditches, it automatically drains itself. It doesn't get rid of the peat, but it'll automatically drain. So that's a way of using ditches to flip your peat moors instead of having to actually take the action itself. Ditches aren't worth any points at the end of the game, but it's very beneficial to be able to do 2 things at once and also make your home board a little more advantageous for farming and critters. So I'm going to make sure that my board is all nice and reset, and then I will pause and get started with the game here. Okay, so I think I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and build this workshop over here, which a workshop before each November, so at the end of the June round, I get 1 wood, and then I also get 1 master action, so I get the pay to do an upgrade. So to do that, I have to spend 1 resource of wood, timber, clay, brick, and 1 grain. So my first action will be the builder. So I will get rid of most likely the clay and then spend my grain to get that workshop. This has to go in an empty space below my dike line. And now each time before November, I get to do that. So I wouldn't mind doing the master workbench right here. So now I can pay the indicated costs and improve at the moment 2 tools. So I'm going to do the rule that I stated earlier. This is 2 clay. So 2 clay right there to improve the workbench itself. So now that I spent 2, I have 3 and I did 1. So now I still have 2. I want to improve my axes. Then I still have 1 more. I want to do increasing my shovel and shovel pairs. Now after that action, I would like to get some wood back. We'll see that in a second. So now I can get 4 wood. So now that I have 4 wood, I'm going to increase my dike line. So the dike builder gives me a cow or a sheep. I would actually like to get a sheep. And now I get to do 2 dikes per shovel pair, not shovels. So let's increase the dike here, and then let's move that one up there. So now I've unlocked these 3 spaces. All 4 of my workers are there. So now I do November inventorying. So before each November, I get a wood. And now I get to choose to do 1 free master workbench action. Which I think I will increase my spades right here by 1 wood. So all my workers, I'm going to go ahead and just bring them back and put them over here. So that's before November. Now we're actually doing November. So sheep and cattle give me food. I don't have enough sheep to get the food. I get 1 grain and 1 flax because I do not have a forest to get wood. Now I have to spend 3 food and I have to surrender 2 peat. So that is November inventorying. So now we move over to December. I have a lot of wood here. Let's use that wood. Let's go to the master workbench. You can see what I'm focusing on here. So let's increase our shovel pairs. I have 3 upgrades that I can do. Upgrade my spades. I'm actually going to upgrade my digging spade down here for 3. for my third action, not 3. Now, I'm going to take a turn out of season. I'm going to get clay per shovels, so 5 clay. This might be a time to do something cool. I could turn 1 grain and 1 peat into 6 food. So let's bump that up to 6. Had to do a whole action just to get some food there. And let's go. Where was it? The grocer. So 1 peat cutting. Now I get an animal of my choice. I choose to do the horses. 1 wood and 1 clay. I usually go real heavy animal base. I think I'm going to go real heavy tool base this time. So now we do May inventorying. So animals breed. The only ones that breed right now are the horses. So they're all 3 in their stall. This can hold 3. He's dead. Baby's dead. So now 1 sheep gets 1 wool. And now 3 food. And that is it. So now, oh, sorry, that was round 2. So now we're going into round 3. We're back in July again. Now, how would I like to prepare? I would like to do the workbench again, increasing the workbench itself for 2 clay, increasing the digging spade for 1 wood, and then my last one will be, I don't quite know, because I don't get any points doing those guys. Let's just move the weaving looms for 2 wood up there. So there. Now, taking them from the wrong side here, I would like to go and do the ditcher, and I can do 5 ditches. First one has to touch my dike line, and no other ditch can touch the dike line, so only 1 ditch. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now that I've cornered this moor, it's gonna flip over and be like a dehydrated one. So now this has 4 peat on there. I would like to cut some peat, so I need peat. I can do 7 peat, so that's 3 right there, and that's 4 there. So this is now out of the game. Sorry, let's put my thematic screw there. I still have 1 more turn after all that. I'm going to move my sheep right here, because this is a dehydrated space, and sheep can breed when they're in there. Now let's go ahead and do some dike building. I will take a sheep. Now I get to move shovel pairs 2 dikes. So let's move this dike. And now I have opened my dike, these spaces right there. So now before each November, I get a wood. And then I get to upgrade 1 thing. And it seems not necessarily smart, but we could upgrade the digging spade right here. So use that wood. So now we do November inventory. I have 2 sheep for 1 food. No cattle. I get a grain. I get a flax. I do not get any wood. I pay 3 food. So 1, 2, 3. And I have to get rid of 2 peat. And now we go into round 4 here. My goodness, I hope I am playing this smart. Haven't used any of my tea though. So it's time to probably start getting some vehicles. So out of turn, I'm gonna get 4 wood here. So 4 wood. I'm going to do a vehicle. So I'm going to get rid of that 4 wood. And 2 of my horses to build this cart right here. So this costs 4 wood, 2 horses, and it's worth 4 points at the end of the game. That'll cover up my -3 space. And now I can start doing things. So in order to convert clay here, I need to be able to surrender a peat for that. Unfortunately, since that... Hold on, let me hold off on that. I'm going to take the dike warden action, which lets me push my dike line a little bit further, and then I get a flip. That little flip icon is on this cart. So now I just flipped that. I want to get rid of these clays, turn them in the bricks. So I have to get rid of 2 peat to do that. I have 1 more action. Do the horse action here. Or cattle trader, that's what I meant. So I'm going to get 2 grain. And then I get 1 sheep. Just straight up 1 sheep. Let him hang out up there. And I will choose to do a horse. So that's final worker, May inventorying. So we breed. As I mentioned earlier in the rules, if a sheep are in a dehydrated space, they breed. And then the horses are in this stall here, so they breed. And now, for each sheep, 1 sheep gets 1 wool. I don't have 4 that get the second wool. 3 food. 1, 2, 3. I am out of food. So now let me get rid of these. You're supposed to unload your vehicles first, but there we go. They're there. So now we'll go into round 5. I feel like I'm not playing this game correctly today. Thinking about where to go. Buildings to build. Not so worried about buildings as I am flipping. So I could flip there. And dig some more. Okay, let's try this. So wood cutting. I'm going to spend my T. T lets you take an action as if your tool were 1 space to the right. So that would actually give me 5 wood. Now that I have those 5 wood, I'm thinking, is it even worth buying? Let's see, let's dig some ditches here. So now I have 6 ditches that I can dig. That's a lot of ditches here. So 1, 2, 3. So these flip because now they're connected. Touch and ditch. 4, 5. Oh, once I completed, that should have been a free ditch. Anytime the dike line goes up 1, you get a free ditch. And it doesn't even cost an action. So let's do that. Now I gotta load these suckers full of peat. Just trying to get rid of negative points here. So now I can take the plow action. So you build a plow and then you use your plow. So a plow will cost 1 wood and 1 cow or horse. So I'm choosing to forfeit one of my horses, spending 1 wood. And now, as I mentioned in the rules, if you have at least 2 dehydrated spaces, you can actually plow 2 fields. So let me move my sheep around a little bit there, because I'm going to do one of each. So unfortunately, you choose to put your sheep there or put land there. So I'll put the sheep down there. My last action, peat cutting. So I can do 7. So I almost got rid of all my peat. So we're cutting it close here. Very close. So now we go before oh, I still have one more action. I thought I took them all. I did, because I did a digger. I just didn't move him there. So now before each November, you get a wood, and then you choose something to improve. So I guess logically, the thing to improve, I have these 2 clay bricks for a reason, sort of. I do the oven. I want to put these on my cart right there, using those. So we haven't inventoried in November yet. Let's see. I have to do the inventory now, so I get 2 food. And then I get 2 grain, 2 flax, no wood. Now I have to get rid of 3 food. 1, 2. I'm out of food, but you have the option to feed with grain. And 2 peat. I have an abundance of peat. So now that November inventorying's done, I never unload my vehicles at the right time. Got some clay, some bricks there. We're going to go on the round 6. So I'm going to build a vehicle. So this one, for 5 wood and 1 horse, will give me this vehicle. I have my 1 horse, and I have 5 wood sitting down here. So now I can start thinking about visiting some places. I think it is time to visit some places. So I can go to Norden. So if I get rid of a sheep, that'll give me 4 food immediately. I could visit Dornum to get rid of the cart for 8 food. And I could visit Beemore to get rid of 2. To get 2. And now I have a space for 3. Might as well just go here for 3 more peat. And that'll give me 3 more food. So that's a quick way of getting food. And those stay on here until you unload your vehicles. So they're blocking those. Let's see. Let's go here for 1 peat cutting. So that gets rid of my last dehydrated moor there. Get 1 animal of my choice. I kind of want to choose a cattle, surprisingly. Okay, let's put the horse out here. I want to use 2 bricks to turn a stall into a stable. So you put the stall back, and now the stable, it allows you to have 6 of the same animal And in this particular game, if you have 4 animals, you actually will breed 2 additional, unlike most Uwe Rosenberg games. So with that, I would like to do the Dyke Warden. So you get the flip 1 tile. I want to flip that to a double stall. And then I get to move 1 dike up. So I can have my critters like that. So now I do May inventorying. So we breed. My sheep down here will breed. And nobody else will breed. So now that I have 4 sheep, I will get 2 wool. And now I feed 3 food. And that is the end of May inventory. I'm supposed to unload my vehicles. So whenever you visit these destinations, when you offload them, they go on this little chart here. So we are traveling. I don't know why I put my players over here. They're supposed to go over there. We are in round 7. 3 more rounds. I have very little resources, so that tells me I need to get some wood. I wouldn't mind getting some critters here. I'm not focusing on buildings at all. When you convert per animal, 1 extra food. Okay, the slaughterhouse is kind of nice. 8 points. I just need to get some bricks. Might have to take a turn out of. No, it's not out of season. So per shovel, so I get 5 clay. So there's 5 clay. I want to take the woodcutter, using my T to increase the tool 1 to the right, which will give me 5 wood. I wouldn't mind doing the dike builder, so I will take a cattle. And then per shovel pair, I've completely pushed my dike line up to here. 1 more action. Let me think about this. So, I need some peat, unfortunately. How do we make that boat? That might be worth it. So let me go down here to the sail maker, which will give me a bolt of cloth and a peat. And now I could actually get 1 fishing cutter / peat boat. So for 1 wood and 1 grain, I now have a fishing cutter. So I actually want to offload 2 of these to do that. I could visit Essence right there to get rid of 2 grain and 2 squirrel pelts to get a total of 6 food. So that bumped this up to 9. And then I guess I could visit Lear. And I only want to get rid of a grain for 2 food, because I'm more concerned about just doing the travel destinations and getting the food. So before each November, I will get a wood, and I choose which ones I want to improve. What is worth it? Of course, the weaving looms for 2 wood. So let's do November inventory. I still only have 4 sheep, not 5, so I only get 1 food. I do have 2 cattle, not 3, so I only get 1 food. I get... no, not grain. Yeah, grain and then flax. 2 and 2. Now feed 3 food. And now 2 peat. And now we go into round 8. Let me empty my vehicles. I don't think I'll ever do that correctly. Do my travel destinations here. Get my clay. Oh, since I didn't have anything in my fishing cutter, I get 1 food. That's the bonus of him. So now we're in the 8th round. Let me think about over here. This is honestly just to get points. So I'm going to build a building. The slaughterhouse costs 2 clay bricks. So I will place that. Sure, we'll go over here. So those 2 clay bricks that I just turned, we'll go there. So now anytime I convert animals, I get extra food. Thinking, thinking, thinking. Is it worth it to get any of this stuff? Per fleshing beam. I don't have any of those. Okay. No, let's get some critters here. I need at least a horse. I don't need the cut peat. Cattle trade. So 1, 2 there. Get a sheep. So they're gonna go over here. Let me move this sheep over there because they're gonna breed. Now a horse or a cow. I'll do a horse, of course. 2 more actions. So close. As if it were 1 to the right. No, I don't have the tea to do what I need. I want to get the East Frisian tea and have 2 of them. So if you have 2 of them, you can get rid of those to take the action twice. Very stuck on what to do. I don't need peat. I have wood, but not quite enough. Let's try that. So down here, the boat builder. So I could do 1 trading ship or... So I want to do a trading ship. Because he costs 2 wood and 1 bolt of cloth. So he'll go up here. So 2 wood. And I have the bolt of cloth. I don't think I got my food from the last time with the fishing cutter. Yeah. I mean, I might as well visit Hage. Haga. Which requires getting rid of 1 of these. For 1 lonely food. I don't have any squirrels to do that. Oh, I could do it next turn. More critters? Do I want more critters? I've already taken the June season action, so I can't do that. I don't need food. I don't have any of this to convert. I will. I guess I'll just place this up here to turn that into regular tea and this in the timber. 3 peat. That actually might be kind of worth it. Those are just worth points, basically. Okay. So let's go to the peat boatman. So you just get 3. And I don't have any peat boats. But I want to get these clay bricks right there for 3 peat. I swear I took another action. Yeah, down here. Why do I keep grabbing my workers like that? Okay, so now May inventory. Offload. I did it right this time. There's some timber. And here, I have regular... East Frisian tea lets you move a tool, use a tool as if it were 2 spaces to the right. So now critters breed. So these are both in separate parts of this stall, or double stall. So these sheep are all breeding right here. And now I have 6 sheep, so that's 3. And now I feed 3 food. And now we go into the last season here. There's only so much left that I can do. Okay. So, if I play this correctly, if I put that there, I do get to surrender an animal, any animal, for 4 food. We'll put him here for reasons. So now I will go pay 1 food. I don't want to pay a food. I just want to do a building. So 4. This one costs 2 clay bricks and 25 food. So I have 2 clay bricks. Right now I have 11 and 14, which is 25. So that puts me all the way at 0 food. But the waterfront house will give me 10 food. It'll let me do 2 dike pushes, and my fish traps go up 3. So that almost worked how I wanted it to. Now I could... where was that? Forest or a building. So I could spend a food. So I could get rid of a clay brick and a get rid of a clay brick and a timber to build the smokehouse. So I'm not really using this. I'm just getting it for 4 points. Right there. So I'm going to get some wood, and I'm going to spend my Frisian tea to make my axes 6. And let's try and finish how we started. So the workbench. So I will increase the weaving looms. That's 1. That's 2 upgrades. That's 3 upgrades. And then the last 2, or last 1, will increase the fleshing beams all the way. That was a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. So now before November, I technically get a wood, and I can increase any workbench, but I don't have any tools to do that. And before we go too crazy, I can go here. It says get rid of 2 any animals for 9 food. So I did that before I got my wood to potentially increase my tools. So that was kind of a workaround. So now we unload the vehicles. I've managed to successfully visit every destination. I get 1 food because my fishing cutter didn't have anything on it. And now, if I had 5 sheep, I'd get 2 food. I only get 1. And then with the cows, I get 2 food. So I get 2 grain, 1 flax. And now I feed 3 food. And now I only have 1 wood to get rid of. And I'll have to double check the rules on what happens if I don't have anything to pay for. It states in the rule, if you are missing food or you're missing fuel, you lose 2 points for each fuel or food that you're missing. So I just lost 2 points. I have to keep track of that. So now this is my final score right here. So let me get my score sheet and I will tally it up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put -2 for that supply bottleneck. Building materials, clothing tiles, and teas. I do not have any of those. Equipment in the barn. I only have 6 points worth of equipment. Fishing cutters and trading ships. I have 5 points of that. Travel experience. Went all the way to 10. Tools. So my tools down the middle. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 points. I think that's the highest I've ever gone on tools. The goods track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like the lowest I've gone on goods track. Victory points on the home board. 4 plus 10 is 14. Plus 9 is 23. So that's 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 32 points. Animals. So how you score animals, your lowest number of animals will get you 2 points. And then the second lowest will get you 1 point. And then the lowest will score you no points. So I have a tie, 3 horses, 3 cows. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let me tally up my score and see if I even broke 60 points. So I scored 87 points. So it's 13 points shy of getting 100, which they say is a good score. Double checking, making sure that I scored everything appropriately, no negative points. The dikes are completely full. Got my ships, got there, covered up that negative point. Got my animals, I counted those. Okay, yeah, that's it. So this is my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game here. There is a lot going on in this game, and I'll say that about every big board game that takes up the entire table. This one's very hard to teach the new players. It's very heavy. You have to have played his older games to understand the mechanisms involved in this game. If this is your first Uwe Rosenberg game, it's going to be a lot to learn because it has similar farming mechanisms that are a part of Agricola, as well as this long, daunting board that has a bunch of places to take actions at, which is like a feast for Odin. You also have your own home board where you're kind of mixing and matching areas, items. That kind of has a feast for Odin, almost Glass Road aspect, because if you play Glass Road, you're buying these square card buildings and paying the prices that are indicated on them to place them in your area. So this has a Glass Road feel to it, mixed in with Agricola, with your harvesting and your breeding and your animal organization. And then over here you have your carts and wagons. This kind of has a Feast for Odin feel to it, where you're trying to mix and match the carts and make sure you don't get any negative points. And there's also the income phase of it, kind of like Feast for Odin. So there's a lot of his games that he incorporated different mechanisms and put them together for this amazing 1 to 3 player game. I've played it at 2 players a few times. It plays just as good. The reason I like this solo is that there's nothing different about setting the game up. You just play, and you're basically blocking yourself, kind of, because if you take that season action, you're the only one who can take it, so you have to choose wisely. In a 2-player game, if you take that action, the other player goes first. So you don't have to think about that potential swing, because you're always going to be going first the next round. It's still just as difficult, even though that spot right there that you want to take is not going to be taken by the second or possibly third player. It's still just difficult to figure out which areas you want to take. Yeah, I like this game a lot. And Tea and Trade, I don't know if I could play without it, because I think it adds more depth to it, like the ditches. makes the plows more valuable. It makes the sheep a little different, where you're able to breed them outside of the stalls. And then you can also drain the moors without even having to take the dike building action, which the dike building action is pretty strong. It's just you're able to do a couple things at once. You're able to build these pens for the sheeps, make the lands more valuable, and flip the moors all basically in one turn down here. I think the weakest aspect, or the aspect that I forget the most, is the tea. I kind of sit on my tea, and it's actually really difficult to get tea. You get tea basically by going to India up here, and then the grandmother can give you the big East Frisian tea. It's just a strategy that I have not thought about, and I haven't played enough to try and use the tea into my playing strategy. This particular time around, I try to do something different, but I always end up doing the same thing, which is a little bit of everything. And I've kind of noticed that about Uwe Rosenberg's sandbox games, that you kind of do a little bit of everything to do good points, and it still doesn't punish you if you want to focus just going this way or just going that way. Unfortunately, you only have this many spaces to get carts, and there's honestly only that many carts in the game. And the same thing with the destinations. As you saw, I was able to visit all the destinations with 1 or 2 carts, so it's not necessary to fill this up. And then this only gives you 10 points at the game, which I scored 87 points, so that's over, like, what, 10% of my score? So would I recommend this game to 1 to 3 players? For 1 and 2 players, I would say yes, absolutely. This is such a big game for 1 to 2 players, and I just like how much it brings to the table for that player count. I haven't played it with 3, but I know with 3 players, you only take 7 turns instead of 9, and then you get to kind of start building your board before the game even begins. So people were concerned, or I was even concerned, that, ooh, a 3-player game? This is already long enough with 2 players. How is this going to work? They kind of shortcut the turns, but then give you a boost in the beginning. So you're already kind of going in a direction that you want to go before you even play. So that's kind of nice. But I guess the amount of time it takes to do that is kind of like playing a 9-round game with 2 players. So it might just kind of mitigate and end up being longer regardless. But I want to try it at 3. But absolutely get it at 1 to 2 players. This is one of my favorite solo player games. It's a lot to set up, but once you get it set up and you dedicate a whole morning to it like I just did, you end up having fun. And I was 13 points shy of getting that 100, that elusive 100. So thank you for joining today, and I hope you enjoyed another solo game. Thanks, bye.